Welcome to the Accomplish More podcast, created specifically for the small business owner who doesn't think small. I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. This show is where you'll learn practical ideas, hints, tips, and tricks to help you grow your small business where you can leverage your time and to accomplish more. How to effectively work with a virtual team. Working with a team, Sharon, has its challenges, doesn't it?
It does.
But when it comes to a team being remote, it's even more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
We've had our struggles with some of our clients just getting started and momentum and everything like that. So today we are going to talk about the key things that you should know when working with a virtual team.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're an independent contractor or they are on your payroll, but they're not working, face to face. And actually, most of the things that we're going to go over applies to anyone that you bring in onto your team. And when you lead a team, there's a lot to consider, and being able to achieve the goal, your end goal, and getting everybody on the same page. That's an important part.
That is a challenge.
So let's just get right to it and talk about the first thing.
What do you recommend?
You got to have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I think the number one thing that you need to do before you hire anyone is to have a plan. And from experience, I think that we get into working and we just are in the trenches and we just keep working and working and working. And then all of a sudden we realize, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot see the forest for the trees. I just have to do all this stuff. I'm losing sleep. I don't have family time. I'm worried that I've got so many balls up in the air and I can't get it all done. But I don't know. I just want to just get relief and just have everything. So I've encountered some clients that it's like, I'm so overwhelmed. Just give me relief.
Mm-hmm. Just jump in and help.
And I don't have any direction.
Yeah.
And as a virtual assistant, we are not there to run somebody else's business. That's sometimes when you get into a place of such overwhelmment, you just want somebody to just make it better and make it better magically.
Overnight.
Exactly. And that just does not happen.
No.
And so you need to pause, let things just stop for a moment and plan, make a plan. What is the biggest thing that stresses you out? And we had talked in the last episode about, fears of delegating. One of them is I don't have enough money. Well, pause and think about what are the tasks that you need to keep and what you'd like to delegate. And there may be a ton of things that you want to delegate. But if you were to delegate all of that, you may not can afford it, because in reality, it's like, oh my gosh, can't afford the time to train right now. And so you need to step back and just make a plan. It's like, well, what's this first thing that I need to delegate? And what are the parameters of that particular task? How much time is it going to take? And when can I do this? And actually, even going back further, is like, I can't delegate this until I have certain tools in place. And we had talked about in previous episodes about scheduling. Right? And going onto an electronic schedule. So maybe it's something as simple as like, I have everything in my date book right now. I need to plan and convert some of this to a digital schedule. Let me get into Google Calendar and transition and take that baby step and plan on in 3 months or 6 months or what have you, then I'm going to hire somebody to call and confirm all my appointments, and that's going to help me in this way, or I'm going to have people set up appointments for me, whatever that may be. But setting up a plan and getting those goals fulfilled, but you have to chunk it down. And, hiring someone in a sense of overwhelmment is quite stressful because you don't know where to start or what to tell, and we're pretty smart. We're a pretty smart team, but we can't read our clients' minds.
No.
And we have one client that we've been working with for several years, and I started out doing just one thing for her, and it's grown. But she's much of a planner. She's a strategic planner. She's a researcher. She's very good at what she does. Then fast forward to one of our newest clients. She doesn't know what to do for a logo, or she wants us to help her with her social media, but she doesn't really articulate what her message is, what she really is going for. So we're helping providing her consistency until she can find that, which is good. But our relationship as starting out has been kind of, we have had some stumbling blocks because we don't know what the expectations are. She doesn't know really what to tell us. And before hiring somebody, you kind of want to have a plan of what to do. But not all business owners really have a clear plan. They're just good at doing.
They're getting in and getting it done on a daily basis, but maybe not looking out to the future for their goals.
I have had some clients that hire somebody in-house, to do data entry or what have you, and they're not prepared to spend the time to have some structure, because that really helps when you work. You need to have some sort of structure, some sort of deadlines. It's like, don't tell somebody, just whenever you feel like it. Put some structure to it. Like for content, maybe you're not doing something right now. Maybe you want to start a newsletter because you're not doing it now. Well, then you need to provide dates of, okay, I want to do a monthly one. Okay, let's do it in the middle of the month. Let's, have it come out. No, I decided not monthly. Let's do it quarterly. And this is why. And this is kind of the picture that I see in the future of what it should look like and what kinds of content or what have you. Now, many of our clients struggle with what to put as content, which is okay because we can give some ideas. But again, we are not there to run their business.
Yeah.
And they need to make some decisions. And I know I struggle with clients that just don't make a decision, And then they struggle. It's like, well, I don't really know what you should be doing. I don't know, So having a plan and sticking to that, but it does not happen with a snap of a finger.
No.
That everything is in place and you have policies, procedures, you have systems, and everything works perfectly. It's always a process. The second thing that is very important to remember when working with a virtual staff is that we're not robots.
No.
Virtual assistants or remote workers, we don't see them on a daily basis. I mean, we are a virtual assistant company that work behind the scenes for our clients, but also me as a business owner, I have you guys as virtual assistants.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't see each other on a daily basis, monthly basis sometimes. And it's important when working with the virtual staff that you keep in touch, that they're people with feelings, with ideas, with thoughts, and you need to work with that. And with our digital world, the way we have it, it's kind of, things get a little bit far removed.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to fire off an email or a text to a faceless person.
Yeah. And you could be perceived as like barking orders, or not being clear with your message, misperceptions and things like that. And having that reality that, don't be just shooting off orders or thinking that somebody doesn't have a life, setting in those expectations. Don't think that, that person needs to be at your beck and call every single moment.
Yeah.
Every one of us needs some sort of boundaries. We as business owners need to be prepared. We want our clients or our customers to know that we have boundaries. I don't necessarily want a client of mine contacting me at 11 o'clock at night that there's some sort of emergency. Well, what we do is it's not brain surgery.
It's not life or death.
It's not life or death. We're not an ER, but we have set boundaries of office hours, and we set boundaries on when we answer the phone and all of that, which all businesses need. And actually having the respect of that for your remote staff is important too. There's other projects, and so it goes back to that plan, making plans ahead of time to have deadlines and have expectations so that you can meet those expectations and not say, well, I need this done right this second.
Yeah.
And if you have an emergency situation that you put upon a virtual or remote worker, then understand what they're going through and understand that they may need to drop other things and shift and compensate for that. I mean, that's important. And communicating with virtual staff, I mean, we have texts, we have, we use Slack. And communication is key, and that was our third point. But what I make you guys do, I have to say that loosely, but I require each of my virtual staff to have profile pictures on our tools that we use. And our main tool that we use for communication is Slack. And I'll go into what Slack is if someone hasn't heard about it or what have you. But Slack, we can have our little profile pictures, kind of like Facebook or what have you. But I want your face. I don't want...
Not a cartoon.
Not a cartoon. I don't want a tractor. I don't want trees or scenery or anything like that. And I know that Arlene and Norma, I'm going to call you out, girls. You love being behind the scenes, and it's like, nah, I don't want a profile. And you two were the most apprehensive of doing that, but it helps because we don't see each other in an office traditionally and in the break room together and things like that. So when we are communicating on our Slack channel, your face pops up and it humanizes us, and that's important. we're seeing who we're talking to. And I've actually, one of our clients is implementing Slack in some of her businesses, and I've been invited to those Slack channels. So I have several Slack channels now, which gets, I have a lot of different hats, but they have not set up profile pictures yet. All you see is the little icon, and I said, we need to all have our pictures here because we're never going to meet each other, and this is what we need to do. And it helps with communication, which is our third point. Communication is key. And it's even more important with a remote staff. Sometimes it's harder because, like you said, with text, you don't know with emotion or anything like that. But regular communication is important. And since, if you set up a system for regular communication, depending on the project, depending on what's going on, is it appropriate to be once a week, twice a month, once a month, once a quarter? We have clients that we do various tasks with, and we have a weekly call. And an hour call, it's well worth the investment to pay somebody to be on that call, because they're in your world and you're talking. It gives the business owner a chance to talk out their plans, answer any questions that may be there, and plan for the future. And actually, the communication holds both people accountable. Really. And we had talked about the feeling trust and loss of control in a previous episode. And when you communicate on a regular basis, me as a business owner, if I told you I was going to do something so that you can do your job, if we don't meet, I may have that, oh my gosh, I've got to meet with Sharon tomorrow, so I better do this. That helps, and it progresses the goals, really. And some of our clients, I've noticed with the weekly calls, more things. It's like, I need help with this. Do you think you can do that? And it helps relieve the stresses that they have. Or they say, I want the direction of my business to go this way, and this is what I'm planning for. And they're just talking out their plans, and it helps clarify things for themselves so that they can grow better.
What a great sounding board, too, for both.
And we as virtual assistants, we work better with deadlines so that we know what our expectations are. And we have some clients that we will meet with once a month or once a quarter, because we do their newsletters, depending on the frequency of their newsletters. So we need to enter into their world, what's going on in their world, so that we can basically interview them, check in with them, and then ask them questions so that we can write the articles for them, which helps them tremendously, because sometimes a lot of our clients, it freaks them out to have to sit down and write something out. They know the importance of a newsletter and staying in communication with their customers, but to sit down and write something, they don't know where to begin. But to have a 30-minute to an hour conversation that we can just talk, we interview them, ask them questions, and get their words out on paper, that is tremendous. That saves them a ton of time. So it also helps us to get to know them better as people and their style, and find their voice. So I think that is really important, because a virtual assistant needs to kind of become part of the company.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to have regular conversations. Now, we've had some clients, and they haven't been clients with us very long, because they say, well, I want you to do this. And then it's like they disappear.
Mm-hmm. No clear plan.
No clear plan. And I have observed that a majority of virtual assistants that I come across are people pleasers. And all they want to do is do right, and feel like their contribution is making a difference, and that they are being productive and helping. So when you don't have that communication with the client, you don't know what direction, you don't hear, even a thank you once in a while. I think that if you're managing a virtual staff, even an in-person staff, a thank you goes a long way.
Yes, it does.
But really, even knowing that, are we off kilter on what direction you want? We feel like we're bobbing around and we just don't know if we're being helpful, even if we're the right fit. And I'm saying that as a we, that, I'm not trying to complain about any clients or anything like that, but the perception that I have as a virtual assistant, since if we don't get feedback, good, bad, or indifferent, that doesn't make you as a business owner productive.
Right.
And I know leading a group of virtual assistants, if I don't communicate what's going on in my head and give you feedback or even assignments, I'm stressing myself out because I'm not getting the outcomes that I want, or you feel lost and don't know what direction to go. So there's different situations. What have well, we've got tools for communication that we use at Scrivener Solutions. What's your favorite tool?
Dropbox.
You like Dropbox?
It has everything in there. And if you ever need to go back, it's still in there.
We use Dropbox as our shared team filing cabinet. And that's just what I've been accustomed to. And I just share with you guys everything. And it's our virtual filing cabinet.
It is.
And we have a structure of how that filing cabinet should look. We have our client files. We have marketing for the business. We have some photos that we do in-house that we can use for our clients and stuff. So we have our own stock photo stuff. We have our resources and things. My Dropbox that you guys don't actually see, there's a lot more in there.
Well, I'm happy to see the one I do because it literally has everything that we need to do our job.
And it's really how we communicate on, go to the client, go to Jen's, no, that's not really appropriate for Jen, but to go to Quinn's client file and you'll find this.
Yes.
And so it's short. It's a shortcut. And then whatever we save, there's a convention that we need to save so that whoever on the team needs to look at it.
And it's there.
And it is there. And what I like about that, as well as for our clients, we can share that whole folder. Everything that we work with is theirs anyway. And if we're no longer their virtual assistants, it's all theirs.
Yeah.
And they can
Hand
it all over. So actually, most of our clients work with Dropbox in some way or another. And so I love that too.
Yeah.
Well, when we first started out, we have our email and we can communicate by email, but we cut that out and we implemented Slack.
Yeah.
And Slack, if our listeners don't know what that is, just go to slack.com. And you may wonder, why do you need that? But Slack is basically text messaging on steroids.
On steroids, because it is separate. And you know it's work related.
Exactly.
Sometimes I don't get to check my other texts or emails. Slack, I check.
Exactly. Well, you can compartmentalize. And like I said previously, I'm on several Slack channels now. So whatever team I'm on, I can put my brain over there.
Yes.
So Slack is instant messaging, and we can have direct messages to each other or general messages. And the general messages, or we can create channels that are specific to certain projects, which are kind of cool, because even though we're a small team, it's easier for me if like you and Norma and me are on a team. Yeah, that's 3 out of 5 of us, but I can say the same message, and you know what's going on that project, and doing your piece of it, and you're like, oh, you've done that, so now I can do this.
Yes.
You know, but it's a great communication tool, because sometimes we put some personal things in there because it goes back to we're human. Let's put some human aspect in it, and figuring things out together, because we're a team. And did you know that we can do voice over IP calls through Slack?
Oh, I did not know.
I haven't really done it much because, I mean, we do phone calls, but I think it's very, very important to have staff meetings.
Yes.
And so we have our virtual staff meetings, and we use Zoom. Zoom.us, I believe, is the address. And, well, Slack and Zoom have free options, and then they have paid options, and it just depends on where you're at and what features you really want. But Zoom is a great video conferencing. I like it better than Skype. I have used Skype and sometimes, but I think you have to pay for group calls on Skype. Zoom is a free service, and it's as long as you want one-on-one. And it has recording capabilities, which is cool.
Awesome.
So that you can record the call if you want to, if it's like a webinar type thing. And then for our staff meetings, since there's 5 of us on there, 4 or 5 of us on there, and we actually see each other, because I want us to have a video call so that humanizes us. And even though you haven't met Brandy yet, and may never, you see her, and then you know she has 2 young
She's
ones.
a human.
And then you guys can converse offline and stuff. And for Zoom, for multiple folks on the call, we're limited to 40 minutes, which is not bad.
And that's free.
That's free.
That's awesome.
Now, if you pay for it, I think it's unlimited time. But for what we need, 40 minutes is plenty. And I don't think that we should have a staff meeting just to have a staff meeting. But I think that meetings are important for virtual staff to understand what, just to get a gist of what's going on overall.
The whole picture.
Hear from other folks on the team with their questions, because it could, affect you, or just having that interaction, I think, is important. And that's mainly what our staff meetings are, because every week I have an individual call with each one of you. And that honestly helps me. It answers questions. If you have any, you will say, are we on schedule for this? And it's like, oh, crap. I didn't do that.
Just helps us stay on track.
Because I've got so many things to think of, I love it that you guys will remind me of things. And so that accountability is important. And so having that communication and creating that communication of not being afraid of asking questions.
Yeah.
Don't be that boss that intimidates folks. Just don't, you know. Just be open to questions.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I might come across as being too busy, but having the perception, or having the realization rather, that if I help my team with their questions first, then I accomplish a lot more, because you can do your job. I have 4 folks that can do their job and do a lot more than me doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I address your questions first, then you're free to do what you need to do, and then do what I need to.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm open enough to.
You've always been there for me when I'm stuck.
But and I know virtual assistants in general, just from networking, is like, it needs to be the business owner that reaches out too.
Mm-hmm.
And I have someone that did reach out with an email that was interested in some sort of help. I've called back, I've emailed and things like that. But I'm not going to bend over backwards as like, okay, we need to meet and let's get started and things like that, because they may not be ready.
Yeah.
They may have been overwhelmed in that moment, and that's why they emailed. But it takes the business owner to do the follow-up and get the team situated, because again, the team is not the one running the business. The owner is.
Mm-hmm.
So, what number are we on? 4?
Yes.
I think number 4. The 4th thing that is super important in working with any team is training. Knowing and understanding that training is necessary. And, you have a uniqueness in your company, and the company culture is super important. And you can create the culture that you want. So, you need to train whoever you hire, whether they're independent contractor or not, on the way that you do things, or the outcomes that you want. Whether that is the style of the website that you want, and is it something that's vintage versus sleek and clean? Is it that you, I don't know, even with how you interact with customers?
Yeah.
What do you think on that type of stuff? What kind of training do you seek?
I like to have a very structured outline.
Mm-hmm.
Good. This is what we expect. We want this, 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 and this. Then I know exactly what my position is.
Mm-hmm. And
even down to handling customers.
Yeah. And sometimes we as business owners don't have all that clear picture, and we don't have it written down. I mean, that's just the practicality.
Yeah.
And we as virtual assistants, we can help you through that. And even me working with you, when I first delegated the social media to you, because I wanted consistency, and I gave you structure of, I want 1 post a day on these social channels, and this is kind of the content that I want. Well, you got me going with consistency, or kept my consistency up, because I was doing it before. And then as time has evolved and you have gotten to know me more, and then I have been able to clarify, and it still kind of changes and stuff, the content gets easier to do, because hey, if Gayla's doing a class about Facebook coming up, maybe I should be talking about that, And so we help our clients kind of structure things a little bit, because of our need to have structure. and we can get that down on paper, because we know we've worked with massage therapists and helping with their content, and we will find certain holidays or events and help them think ahead.
Yeah.
Of, maybe I should be thinking of Massage Therapy Week.
The last week of October is National Massage Therapy Week.
And we learn a lot with our research. And that helps a lot. So having someone that is trained in a specific area is great. But I know that we get some misperceptions about what we do as Scrivener Solutions. We specialize in content marketing, but we are not advertisers.
Yeah.
And there's a difference there. And we expect that we work closely. We become an extension of our client's office. And so that takes some communication from our clients. And with training you guys, or just knowing what to do and having feedback, I mean, it goes back to communication, but I've done training using Screencast-O-Matic. There's some other products out there that will record what's going on your screen and your voice, and giving instructions. Great for webinars, great for things. I think there's one called, I want to say Camtasia, but it was not within my budget, and I actually had a friend of mine hook me up with Screencast-O-Matic, and they have a free version that you can video up to 15 minutes at a time. And it also has a watermark that says, Screencast-O-Matic, which at first, when I first started using it, and I think I was training Norma at first, that was fine. I didn't need to talk more than 15 minutes. I probably still shouldn't talk more than 15 minutes, but what I would do was bring up something like MailChimp, and I would record, and I still do. It's like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Here is the button you push, and you're seeing the screen. I say, first go here, then go here, upload this, do that, and then you can watch it as many times as you want to, refer back to it as many times as you want to, but sometimes that picture's worth 1,000 words.
It is. You recently did a little video for our videographer on how to crop and clip videos and upload them. And that's a great step-by-step tool for a new person.
And I love it. I actually had Jen, one of our clients, she does webinars all the time. And I remember a couple of years ago, and I said, you know what would really help me, because I really don't understand what you're saying to me. Can you record that? You have that magic tool. She doesn't use Screencast-O-Matic. She uses something else, but she's like, oh, that is a fantastic idea. And I said, that would help me out a lot, because she is very analytical and very precise, and I love that about her, but I was not on the same page. And she does that now all the time, and she's grown her virtual team and uses that, and in fact she said, Gayla, can you do a video to teach everybody else how to use Slack and how to use it on your phone, and how do you switch from Teams? And I was like, okay, I can do that. And so that becomes your policy and procedure. And you can make your own video library, so to speak. But I think it's very important for communication. Let's say, well, we use MailChimp a lot, and Constant Contact, and it has some of its quirks. And one of the things that I remember is that I've had most of you guys struggle with positioning of pictures because it can do some kooky things.
It doesn't transfer well.
And I've, through experience, have figured out some workarounds and what we, hidden things. And so I'll get something that, well, maybe we need to tweak it a little bit. So I'll record it and it's like, okay, this is what I did, so that you would know what buttons I was pushing and everything. And that feedback, I think, is invaluable, because as a virtual team, we're not necessarily working the same times.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily through the traditional 9 to 5, 8 to 5. Brandy works in the middle of the night and she'll start slacking me. And I'm like already in bed, but she's not expecting an answer right then and there. When I see the outcomes of something and I want to say something to somebody on my team, it's better just to record it.
Yeah.
Because then on your time, then you can see what I'm going through in my head. I've recently used Screencast-O-Matic for one of our clients. She had something kooky going on with her QuickBooks. And since I like databases, and sometimes some things just kind of pop out at me, and so she asked for my advice, and I got into her system and I was like, oh, this is weird. So I recorded what I did and the steps that I did. Not that we would ever do that again, because it was just something kooky that happened. I could explain to her, this is what I did. This is probably why it happened. And because I was doing it while she wasn't there. So instead of just magically it's done, you know. But also an alternative, if you're trying to train someone, YouTube is a great alternative. It's free. You can upload to YouTube, but have it as a private channel. Get your smartphone and do a video of yourself, because I love Screencast-O-Matic because it's doing our screen. But what if you are doing something that doesn't require a computer, but you need to show somebody tactically what to do? What did you say? We were talking kind of off podcast about crocheting, learning to crochet.
Yes, I can learn how to crochet a sweater on YouTube at any time I want.
Exactly. So translate that into your business. And if it's something that you want done a certain way and it's more a physical thing, go ahead and record it. It doesn't have to be this wonderful movie production thing, and then upload it to a private YouTube channel, and then give access to the people that you need. And that can serve as your video library.
Your training.
For us, all of our videos we keep in our Dropbox. And that does take up a lot of space, but sometimes we'll cut them out. But if it's something that we need to repeat over and over, then we will keep it. Not, that feedback stuff, after we're done with it, we throw it away. But over time, you realize that the details that you aren't doing is amazing. If you train it, take the time to train it, you realize that, man, I'm not doing that anymore. How much time am I really saving? This is amazing. So what I'm going to ask you, because I'm, managing and leading a group of virtual assistants, and I know just talking with clients and stuff what I struggle with on, some people are great with their communication, some not so great. I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
As a virtual assistant, what do you look for that could help you do your job better?
Definitely communication. I cannot get into the customer's head very easily. I mean, there's some things that can be done if you know that they are, say, a massage therapist. You know a little bit about their business, but you can't really get into what their goals and their plans are without communication in my world. So if I hear a little bit about what their plans are, what their goals are with their business, it helps me market them, do the social media side of it, or even an e-news.
Well, for me, I get so excited about what everybody else is doing. And I hear their plans. And I know when you talk to various of our clients, or even with me, and telling you the direction and stuff, I don't know how excited you get, but I get excited.
I do too.
And that gets my my mind going to know, oh, I could do this cool thing. And all we want to do as behind the scenes people is make the people that we work with look good. That's the thing that I've done all of my adult life, is work behind the scenes to make the company I work for, or the VP, or whoever, the doctor, look good. Because every little piece that we do helps them further their goals. And all we want to do is, I guess, please.
Yes.
You know,
people pleasers
not
far off base there.
But once you have things in place, don't take advantage of how much your team has taken on. Because I know as we've grown with Scrivener Solutions, sometimes I just sit back and I was like, oh my goodness, look how much Norma does and I don't have to do anymore. Look at what Sharon's doing. I mean, I don't do a lick of social media at all. That's not where my talents are. And I'll even ask you, what should I be doing here? But, and then Brandy and Arlene, and I sit back and I'm thinking, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Look how much. Now, a lot of folks will determine, oh goodness, look at this payroll expense, or look at this, I'm paying so much out, this is an expense. Now, my philosophy on any expense is investment. And am I investing my money wisely? And is it the task that really would further my business, further to get my goals? So how can I get that done? And so, like, for example, with Norma that does like a weekly newsletter, it took me an hour to do, sometimes a couple of hours. Well, she's got the systems down. And when I trained her, first the tool to use, I took the time to convert the tool, because I love I love Adobe InDesign. And that's what I design all of our print newsletters in. And I had this simple one-page newsletter that I decided, why am I doing this every week? I want it done because it's important, because it helps with my networking group and keeping them on track, and it's a value. But why am I doing it? Norma can do that, but she did not have the tools. I just had to train her. So it didn't make financial sense to train her on Adobe InDesign and give her the license for that, a monthly recurring license for that, when on her computer she has Microsoft Publisher. Okay, so I took the time, an afternoon one day, to convert it from InDesign to Publisher. That did take time. It took planning. So I made a plan. Okay, I am not going to take this hour anymore, but I've got to make a plan. So I did that. And then I went over, because geographically we're fairly close, so I could go over and sit next to her and trained her on what I needed. And I showed her where to look for the key elements to fill in the template. And at first she had some more questions, and then I had to do a little bit of tweaking. But then over time, I have realized I don't even look at it until I'm at my meeting. I mean, I go through the motions of printing it because she puts it in Dropbox and everything. And then I don't actually read it until I'm like at the meeting because I don't have to deal with it. And it's amazing that the very little bit of time that I do need to spend. And she got to where she was not afraid, but she didn't want to bother me because she was like, oh,
Yeah.
I should know how to do this. And what she struggles with is if something goes awry with the template, she gets thrown off kilter a little bit because she doesn't have as much experience with the design part of it, which there's nothing wrong with that. And so she's like, oh, Gayla's so busy. I should know this and that. And I said, don't struggle with that. But you know what? Why don't you communicate with Brandy a little bit? She knows publisher lickety split. So if you need to add something in the table that's on that template and it just doesn't look right, just shoot Brandy a Slack message. She'll look at it. She'll fix it for you and it's done.
Yeah.
And you know, that has worked out fantastic. That has helped team building because they communicate directly. I just still print it and it's magically done. And then if there's something not right on it or if there needs to be a correction, then I need to communicate back with her. And before we close, though, I wanted to say one more tool that we use. And we use Asana for our project management. And when we have so many projects and the tools that we use for our company may not work for every company. And you just kind of figure out your systems. But we as virtual assistants don't care of the tool because we can adapt. Just as long as we have processes. But for us, it was important for me leading Scrivener Solutions that we had a project management system. And I honestly struggle with all of them out there. But I have settled on Asana, and we're learning how to use that. But there's hiccups with learning new processes and learning how to communicate. But one of the coolest things that we discovered, a couple of months ago, is that Asana can talk to Slack. And that has helped so much. And I think that we get a little nerdy, or at least I get a little nerdy. I shouldn't put that, but we get excited when new processes work and it makes our job easier, or we just feel like we have the direction, we know what we're doing, and we are making a difference. I think that's for anyone. That's important.
And staying on track because it alerts you as to when you're done with the project. I know when you have put in a little note in Asana, it lets me know in Slack too.
It does. Because honestly, the news feed in Asana, I struggled with. And I think all of us did, because we're like, who's doing what, when, and where? And we created Slack channels for particular projects. We have a 12-page newsletter that we do for a client every other month. And there's a lot of pieces to that. And there's some things, and there's 3 people on the team that have their part in doing that. Well, we have a whole Slack channel just dedicated to that. And every time there's an Asana thing that's done, then the automatic Slack bot comes on and you can say, oh, okay, that one was finished. Gayla finished that. And then if I have something that's pertaining to that, it's like maybe I'll quickly Slack somebody in that channel just to say, hey, heads up, my meeting with so-and-so was canceled, so I didn't get that piece of information. And I'm just communicating with that. And I love it that we can compartmentalize. And when we focus on one thing at a time, we can get more done. So, reaching out and asking for help is a huge step for most of us. And if you need help with your business, you need to consider the tools, the plan. You just need to think for a little bit. And it's certainly a process that's always worth evaluating and working with. And sometimes you have to overcome your fears. Sometimes you have to get over yourself and just do certain things. Get out of your own way. So being well informed, so that you can make a decision is really important. And I'd like to invite all of our listeners to shoot on over to our website, scrivenersolutions.com. We've got this cool book. What is that book that we have over there?
That book is 5 Things You Must Know Before Hiring a Virtual Assistant.
It's a free ebook.
Free.
And, I won't lie to anybody that you'd become on our email list, because we'd love for you to get to know us a little bit better, and offer you anything that maybe can help you wrap your head around delegating. Whether you ask for our help or not, that's irrelevant. Obviously we'd love to help you in any way we can, but it's really about finding the help that's the right fit for your business, using the tools that are the right fit for you. So we just want you to be able to accomplish more.
Yeah.
So we hope that you've enjoyed the show and find that the information that we provide is helpful and that it leads you to a path of accomplishing more. So remember to go and download that free book. And hey, we're on social media. Where can they find us?
They can find us at Scrivener Solutions, scrivenersolutions.com. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter.
Yeah, that's where we hang out the most.
Yeah.
So join us there. And until next time, have a fantastic week.